Joining me now, One Nation Leader Pauline Hanson. Thanks for joining us, Pauline. Really appreciate your time tonight. Look, what did you think of Daniel Andrews just then saying that he may in fact be looking to increase the state of emergency in Victoria until sometime next year? There are a lot of people who are saying that's somewhat draconian.
I feel sorry for the people of Victoria because they've really done it tough, and to be in lockdown mode for this period of time, someone has to be answerable for that. And when Daniel Andrews, allowed about the security guards at the hotel and also about the Black Lives Matter protest rally, he didn't give it thought what was going to happen. The buck stops with him as far as I'm concerned, and I hope the people actually see that at the next election and throw him out on his ear. It's a shame because the economy is 25% of Victoria. They prop up our economy. The unemployment rate is expected to go to 13%, where it's only going to be about 9%, possibly up close to 10%. So it has pushed up the unemployment rate. It means that more strain on the taxpayers, keeping up JobKeeper and JobSeeker. So it is a real shame, but like I said, I feel sorry for those people kept away from their loved ones, seeing their families, and the restrictions that are put on them.
Pauline, let's talk about another Labor Premier. Of course, I refer to Annastacia Palaszczuk. Now, she's saying that the border closures in Queensland are not, repeat, not politically motivated. Do you buy that?
I don't buy it at all. She's faced an election, and of course, in a crisis, what do people do? They stick with the incumbent. I've just travelled up to the state, up to Port Douglas and all around Cairns and out to Mareeba, and speaking to some people, there are still some people who are, concerned about it and their health and saying, oh, great, the border's shut because, I'm protected. It's all about me. But I say to these people, what about the businesses that are going under? What about the tourist industries? What are the people that are paying off their mortgages, and once the banks start foreclosing, they could lose their homes? What about the people that can't see their loved ones? It's not only about you, the person, it's about the economy of the state. And Annastacia Palaszczuk, she's not going to put up a budget report. We won't know the state of the economy here in Queensland till after the election. So she's using this as an excuse to keep people in fear. I'm keeping you safe, and in the meantime, how many people are actually, being given the death wish now? No, it's not their wish, but the death sentence because they haven't been able to have cancer treatment or tests done. Those people haven't had the necessary operations. How many people have been in pain and agony because we've shut down the services for them? And the COVID death, talk about, the COVID death, and I'll keep saying this again. If you have a car crash and you are tested for COVID, that is a COVID death. It's absolutely ridiculous that people that in nursing homes that are dying, possibly of other underlying issues, old age, heart attacks, but because they've got the COVID, it's a COVID death. It's not the truth that we are being told, and Australians must understand this, and to put this woman back in, and I hope that Queenslanders really think seriously about this, that she will destroy our economy completely if she's given another 4 years at the helm.
Pauline, I know you're very passionate about the issue around vaccination, particularly the COVID vaccine, and we saw the Prime Minister make a big song and dance about that last week. And then I noticed that on your Facebook page there was an absolute tsunami of people who were angry about the fact that it was going to be made mandatory. And he then backtracked and said, oh, no, we can't force people to do it. What sense are you getting from the Australian public on a vaccine and whether it should be mandatory or not?
Peter, when I made a comment on my Facebook page about, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I'm all for pro-choice, and it was my choice to say I won't be having it. I was just so angry and incensed that the Prime Minister will come out and say it will be mandatory for about 95% of Australians to have this vaccination. Sorry. This has only just been invented in the UK. He's already bought 25 million doses of it for the Australian people. The Australian Medical Association is saying no, it shouldn't be mandatory. They're not even backing it. Do you know that our TGA, it's about medicines brought into Australia. It goes through a process of 4 phases, and it takes years before any medication is allowed for the public to take. This is not going through that process whatsoever, because the Prime Minister is talking about the dosage next year. Let me remind people, when we pushed to get medicinal cannabis in Australia and production to start here, there was this, you know, before production got up, we actually went to the government. We said, look, Israel has had this production going out for the last 20 years. It is safe. Can we open up and bring it into Australia for the Australian people? And they said, no, it hasn't been tested. Even though 20 years, safe in Israel, they refused to bring it in so Australians could use that. They wanted to control it, yet they want to bring in a vaccine from the UK that has not been properly tested and is proving the young ones that are having it, they're having an adverse reaction to this COVID. So my attitude hasn't changed, and either has Australians, because on my Facebook page, it's reached over 3 million people. The last time I looked, there were 17,000 comments plus, and the fact is that Australians are really saying, I'm not going to have it.
And Pauline, about half of the Queensland MPs who are due to go to Canberra this week and next week for Parliament have decided to stay at home because they're just not prepared to go to Canberra and then have to come back and spend 2 weeks in isolation. In fact, if you do, I was talking to Peter Dutton the other day, if you do the 3 sittings of Parliament in the next 3 or 4 months in Canberra, you'll spend 6 weeks in self-isolation at home if you're a Queensland MP. Ridiculous.
It is. Well, it is. If we went down and came home on Thursday, Friday, you couldn't go back because you'd actually be in 2 weeks isolation. So there's no chance of that. So if you went down, you had to be down for the 2 weeks. And then you got 2 weeks self-isolation. But the whole point why I didn't go, Peter, was about my staff. They stipulated that my staff would have to go into hotel isolation at their expense. Now, I'm not going to get 5 or 6 of my staff to do that because I don't believe that's right to do it to them. I could have self-isolation at home, but my staff had to go into isolation in a hotel at their expense. And while I'm talking about this COVID, you know, having this injection, I want to hear from the Premier. Is she going to make it mandatory in Queensland for the people of Queensland? I haven't heard from her. Let's have an answer out of her whether she's going to make it mandatory for Queenslanders to get this injection prior to the election. Let's hear what you have to say, Annastacia.
All right, we'll ask Pauline. We'll see if we can get an answer for you the next time I speak to you. Great to see you tonight from the beautiful scenic Rim.
Thank you, Peter, and I loved my trip up north and going out to Mareeba. So if people out there, get around to these places, go and see, you know, Cairns and Port Douglas. They need the tourism up there. So if you want a trip, see beautiful weather, go up North Queensland.
God's country, no doubt about that. Pauline Hanson, thank you for joining us. All right.